Manx Radio Podcasts, powered by Shaw.
Welcome to this week's Countryside podcast here on Manx Radio with Kiri Kermode and Simon Clark. And, well, pig farming we'll be talking to in the programme. Alan Tier, one of the big pig farmers on the Isle of Man, also Sean Dean from the south of the island. And I was finding out from Alan about the trials and tribulations of and the tape that's around keeping pigs. Kiri, you'll know that yourself, won't you?
Yeah.
Not through keeping them, but there's a lot more sort of stringent things in the pig world, isn't there?
Yeah, since the foot and mouth episode, there's been a lot more red tape put around the pigs, and you have to have certain licences, and there's a lot of welfare issues and biosecurity measures that go with it, and it's just very little return for the amount of work that goes into these pig farms here on the Isle of Man, the costs of import and feed and the intensity of actually producing the meat itself. It's a very hard industry to be in.
It is, and of course we're trying to keep local with our milk and cheeses and poultry and everything we can, beef here and lamb on the Isle of Man, but the pig industry does seem to be a tough one for people to go into and stay into, doesn't it?
Yeah, there seems to be great competition from the imported pork, and it's just really hard to compete against it. So we're down to only a couple of pig producers here on the island, and in years to come I don't know whether we'll have any.
No, but
harsh reality.
Yeah, we'll be finding out from Alan, from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And also, Derby Church, you ever been in it?
No, never.
Right.
Fantastic building, though.
Yeah, I grew up in Derby, of course, as you know, and it's been part of my life. You can see it from our house, as plain as can be, and you can see it from loads of different vantage spots around the Isle of Man, and it's just something so close to my heart. And there's an exhibition on at the moment in there, and Sandra Kerrison from the Friends of the Derby Church showed me around the exhibition, and also told me a little bit more about the history. Obviously it's 200 years old, I think. Even just that church that's there now, and history with the Vikings, the fishing industry, that's what it's to do with the countryside, and of course the farming industry and the RAF that were out there as well.
But the church has certainly brought the country folk together once a week, really, didn't it? And, you know, it gave a community life to everybody.
Yeah, things have changed a little bit in this day and age, I suppose. But still people doing some knitting, isn't there? Not just indoors.
Yes, the Manx Yarnies are heading off to the Muirig Park for the Worldwide Knit Day. And, crochet, felt, knitting. It's nice to see an old traditional method being brought back to life, really. It's a very fashionable thing to be involved in at the minute.
Yeah, but usually in the comfort of an armchair or rocking chair.
True.
But this is a little bit different. And a good idea in a way, because, trying to get people that you don't have to be stuck indoors to do it. You can do it as an outside activity and enjoy the countryside as well.
Well, that's it. Out in the fresh air, you can't beat it, really, can you?
Well, that's what's going to be in this week's Countryside, so sit back and enjoy.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
There's quite a few dairy farmers, meat producers, poultry producers, and also sheep producers for the local trade here on the Isle of Man. Not so many involved in the pig trade, though. Sean Dean from the south of the island, and also Alan Tier from Ballakelly and Ballastine up the north of the Isle of Man. To find out how things were in the pig trade on the island, I went along to Ballakelly and spoke to Alan.
We like to try and produce 30 pigs a week, every week, all year. And we've been doing that for quite a long time now. I think regular production's been going on here for the last, it's got to be 4 or 5 years. But we've really stepped up what we're doing and got organised and produced a damn good product to go on to the Manx market in the form of a good bacon pig.
The logistics of this, first of all, I mean, how long have you had them?
Oh, there's always been pigs here, but like I say, it's only the last 4 or 5 years we've really been organised with it and been doing it the way that we should, with good genetics and good feed, producing a good product at the end of it.
You've had to spend a lot of outgoing, I think, changing things around, though, to get big into the pigs, did you?
It's been done in stages. We started, as you can see here, with them 5 bays of the shed before we went this way and took the other 5 bays of the shed, and then decided the lean-to on the side of it and the other 5 bays. So here we can take pigs at 21 days of age, start them in them 2 pens. They're split, boars from gilts. They get a wet feed to start off with, so they're not coming off a sow, that's been giving it milk, to all of a sudden have to go onto a dry feed. Them mixers are designed to put a measured amount of water with a measured amount of baked creep pellet. They'll get that for a week. Then they go into a second diet of a different pellet for a fortnight before we then start to introduce dry meal in the form of wheat, barley, soya, a mineral, and one or two other little minerals mixed in to really kick into the digestive system. You can wean 60 to 80 at a time, little piglets, sometimes more if you branch into another pen. Boars and gilts are kept separate, and they'll work their way around the shed, and as they work their way around the shed, they're split from big batches into small batches all the way around the shed. So they'll come in at anything from 7 to 9 kilos at 21 to 28 days of age, and they'll leave, some of the latest ones will leave at 4 months of age as a bacon pig at 110 kilos.
Wow. But when you look around and see as many in here as there is...
There's never less in here than about 600.
Wow.
And we've never had more in here, I think, than about 900, 950.
I suppose pigs off the farm, large farm animals, I'd more class them in the rabbit side of it, because they're quite good at breeding, aren't they?
Yeah, they can tend to accumulate. Well, the life cycle is, if a gilt is kept, at a year of age, she can have her first pigs. Once we get her up to 170 kilos, she can be brought into the breeding system. What happens is she's kept as a group, so there'll be 10 to 14 in a group.
Are they better in groups?
Pigs love company.
Yeah.
Pigs love company. So they're kept as a breeding group. We'll look out for the first signs of heat, and as they're on heat, they're AI'd, and then within 115 to 118 days, she will produce piglets. She'll have her first litter. Then they're kept on their mother suckling for 21 days or 28 days, depending on when we wean last and the space we have in the shed. So after 21 to 28 days, she's weaned, and then within, well, it's average about 7 to 10 days at the latest, she'll come back on heat. So she is served again by natural or AI. And then within another 115 to 108 days, she'll have another litter.
How many can they have? I mean, they've got a few
God.
teats on them.
I'd love to tell you that everyone has 12 and they keep 12 and we wean 12 and them 12 come out the other end of the shed. It's not. Mortality can go up and down throughout the year. They're not all winners at all. Simon, we've had everything from 2 to, well, we have had one at 22.
Wow.
But all I ask for is 12 pigs on a sow that has 14 teats, born on their own, survive, make it through. But I think really, if we're having a bad run of it, we'll wean 8. If we're having a good run of it, we'll wean 12 or 13 average.
So where's your meat going?
When ours get to 105 to 110 kilos, they're a good bacon pig. They'll go up to the meat plant, and the meat plant will process them into primals, into cuts for Andrius meats. And ours all goes back down to the village there, where it's processed into some of the finest sausage and bacon you will ever taste.
We hear about the farmers with the milk prices, the beef prices, the lamb prices. What's the situation with the pig side of it?
At the best we were at 172 a kilo, but then we've gone all the way down to 120. We did go down to 129 for a week or two, and then we went back to 129 where it steadied out. We're not near our break even. It's a sad state of affairs for something that is bred so well on the Isle of Man and is fed so well on the Isle of Man using a lot of Manx ingredients. I mean, we have hundreds of tons of our own feed, but we end up buying hundreds of tons of everybody else's as well.
What price do you get now?
We've gone up to 145, but we need to be thinking around that 170. If you were to give me 170 a kilo, it would keep me happy, but it wouldn't give you any guarantees. If you were to give me £2 a kilo, I'd say, how many do you want? And I'd be forging ahead.
Is demand poor then?
Demand is fantastic. Everybody wants Manx pork, but it's not always possible to get it. The amount of times you'll just you do a bit of a recce, you'll be in a butcher's shop and somebody will come in. Can I have a leg of Manx pork? Oh, sorry, couldn't get any Manx today. Couldn't get any Manx this week. Or it's in and
you've
it's
got
gone.
so many here.
Yeah, all they have to do is come down and ask for a few more. I could give them some more, but I can't keep doing that for less than my cost of production. I can't. So everybody's hanging around waiting for somebody else to pay a bit more for that money to then travel through that account to come back to the farmer. But it isn't coming back.
Is there a lot getting imported then?
There's
is
a heck of a lot.
But how is that happening if there's a demand for Manx meat?
That's a good question. No, cheap imports will come in, but if you'll actually look at the price per kilo, it's not that much cheaper by the time it hits the shelf. A few pence extra to buy Manx, it goes a heck of a lot further.
Altia there from Ballakelly in Andris, telling us the situation that pig farmers are facing at the moment. And same old story, Kiri, just really not getting enough back to cover the cost of what they're trying to do. And of course, a lot of money being spent on Alan's farm when he was diversifying into that area, to change the sheds and, set up for the pigs. And it's a bit of a struggle at the moment, so looking for different ways, isn't it? It's always the case.
Yeah, it's a mass import from other countries. It's a lot cheaper than what we can produce it for here. Feed costs are a lot less, and also there's a lot of welfare standards with pigs. You have to have certain licenses to keep them now, and a lot of red tape generally.
Yeah, have you had any on your farm over the years?
No, we've never kept pigs. It's always something that, you admire the amount of work that goes into, and they're a lovely animal, clean, tidy animal. But no, we've never had any.
No, and it's funny when you go around there and you see it's just is like mayhem when they're feeding them, squealing away and getting there. But I suppose you grow to like them, isn't it? And
they're real characters, aren't they? They can be just as friendly as any other animal, and certainly you see a lot of smallholders. They tend to keep pigs and they ruffle around and they churn up the fields, something unbelievable. But on a bigger scale like Alan's, a lot of work goes into it for very little return.
Yeah, it is. And we had a couple of pigs on Ballagarrigan many years ago when my dad was there, and I remember two of them being up in the shed up the Hackett there, the old round beach stone one. We come in the morning and the wall, half the wall was gone and half the shed was falling down. They rooted the stones out.
They're terribly strong animals, aren't they?
Yeah, we lived and learnt for them. But you... did you don the knit and needles at this event you were at?
A group called the Manx Yarnies have took part in the World Knit Day held in the Muirig Park there. And what a great turnout. It seems to be all the rage these days. Yeah,
because people will be wondering, what's it got to do with the countryside? But this is a fairly unique event because everyone's been doing it outside. So not only are they doing one of their pastimes, which they would normally probably do while watching Coronation Street, now they can do it in the grace of the outside and the surrounding area, which I suppose adds to the beauty.
Well, this is it. They take the knitting down the high streets now and they go yarn bombing, decorating some of the towns.
Yarn bombing?
You use the brightly coloured wool and decorate the tree trunks and the barriers and make some of the less attractive areas more pretty. And also, once knitting was the way of life, making the jumpers and the hats for the winter. And it's nice to see some of the old traditional hobbies or trades coming back to life.
Did you have a go when you were there?
No, but I certainly will have a go, though. It looked really interesting. And some of the colours now are absolutely beautiful, and some of the patterns as well. You can make anything just about. So I popped along to the Muirig Park to see what it was all about. So Bernadette, a lovely day here in Muirig Park for a very special occasion too.
Yes, we're here for the Manx Yarnies meet up for the Worldwide Knitting Public Day. This is our 4th year having the event, where we gather various knitters, crocheters, sometimes spinners, anyone really who wants to come along and share their craft and enjoy the sunshine and some good company.
But today is absolutely chaos here in the park. There's families, there's children, and there's lots of youngsters taking part in this.
Yes, it's nice to see some younger people who aren't afraid to have a go at crocheting. Tia was here before. She's only in primary school and she's a lovely little girl, and she was able to crochet almost as good as me. So.
And do you go into schools to teach some of these children?
No, I don't teach children as such. I will teach groups such as the WI. I've helped church groups. I've done workshops at Sweet Ginger and Ramsey. Usually just knitting and crocheting, sometimes felting as well, but mainly knitting and crocheting.
And the Manx Yarnies, was that set up by yourself or is it a group of people?
It was set up by a lady called Katie Jeffries, who's normally here. She's unfortunately engaged today, but she set it up after moving to the island a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago maybe, and she wanted to bring together knitters who like herself and congregate socially, and she set the Manx Yarnies group up and we're about 300 people strong now. So.
And it's still growing obviously because people are coming and going here today.
Yes, absolutely, yeah, people come and go all the time. We have very experienced members, we have newbies, we have everyone in between. We're all happy to share our skills and help each other out, and we share inspiration as well on our Facebook group. If we post pictures of what we've made, we talk about techniques we want to learn or specific brands of wool that we like and don't like. So it's a real variety and social gathering and lots of different aspects for different people.
But it's also very therapeutic as well. It's proven to help people with illnesses and to relax.
Yes, absolutely. It's very relaxing. I suffer with chronic pain, so I found it a great relief of when you're being stuck at home when you haven't got anything to do. It gives you a sense of purpose, and it's nice to make stuff and feel a sense of achievement as well. And it's not terribly difficult, and you can make it as complicated or as easy as you want to. It doesn't have to be sweaters and fancy blankets. It can be scarves, hats, socks, anything really.
And do you tend to use Manx wool? Is this something you can get hold of?
Manx wool's been a bit of a challenge actually, because up until recently, any Manx Lockton wool, for example, we've had to buy it online. The last couple of years, the Manx Museum has started stocking it. However, I'm not a fan of the Lockton. I find it a little bit coarse.
Really?
It's nice for blankets and hard wearing stuff, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't be able to wear a jumper. It's quite a coarse wool, I think. So I prefer things like merino and merino blended wool, which tends to be from usually UK suppliers or from New Zealand.
So is there anywhere on the island you can buy fleeces for people starting out, or is there a lot of hard work developing from the sheep to fleece to washing and spinning and weaving?
Oh, it's a nightmare. I do sometimes spin my own wool, and I wanted to see the process rather than just buying a bag of fleece off the internet. I went from sheep to spinning, and it took 3 days to wash a single fleece, and you have to have 2 or 3 clear days of weather, which is not always guaranteed in the Isle of Man. So you get a good weekend, you spend your whole day sorting a fleece in the yard, and it's hard because it smells foul. Your house smells like a farm, and it's a lot of hard work. So it's not an easy thing to do.
No.
To sort and wash. It's a big job, but yeah, you have to try it at least once, I think.
Absolutely.
And then you appreciate where wool comes from, you see. So.
And also, recently you see lots of photographs, especially on the internet, of yarn bombing.
Yeah.
Now, what is that all about?
It sounds terrible with the word bombing in it, I think. It's a kind of it's like an activist type thing, I guess, but it's a peaceful activism. Normally, it's just to make a town centre look pretty, perhaps, just for a bit of fun. Some people use it as a way to make a statement. In the UK, when the Olympics were on, people were yarn bombing bridges with themed characters, miniature characters that were knit in sports personalities, or somebody was surfing, or playing football. Little models on bridges and things. People in America use it as the current thing with Orlando with the shooting. Unfortunately, people are gathering now and they're just knitting together as a community, but they're making donations towards a fund. Groups in Chicago are knitting and crocheting firearms, which will be used in a form of yarn bombing or an artistic display later this year. So it's really whatever you want it to be. And we've just decorated the park entrance here just briefly. There's not much stuff there, but it's just to draw attention to the fact of what we're doing. Just sitting here and knitting socially and having a bit of fun.
Do you have any workshops, or how do people get in touch with you?
At the moment, I'm not running any workshops. There are people around the island doing various things. Tholty Will has got one. I think it's Yarn Granny, I think she's called. I'm not sure exactly. The Yarny Granny or Granny Yarny. Sweet Ginger aren't doing any at the moment, but there are some I'm looking at doing some at Mother Teas later on this year. I will do some privately with various groups if they want to get in touch with me on Facebook, either through the Manx Yarnies page, or if they find me on Facebook under Bernadette Bevan, they can message me and get in touch that way. The WI will sometimes host workshops and bring people in, and I'll go in and sometimes help out with that. It's just, if anyone is particularly interested in learning something new regarding to wool, it doesn't have to just be knitting. It's always worth giving one of us a shout on the group, and we'll find someone who can lend a hand and teach them some new skills, hopefully.
Absolutely, because these skills were absolutely essential to life, making jumpers for the staff, especially on the farms, keeping blankets for the children. It's nice to see it coming back. It seems more fashionable now.
It is, it's very trendy, and you see one famous person doing it and suddenly everyone wants to do it, and that kind of makes it cool. And it brings us all out from behind our living room doors and
Absolutely.
Making it more socially acceptable. I will sometimes crochet on the bus, and I do get funny comments from people and people looking at me, or somebody coming up and patting me on the shoulder saying, "Oh, that's lovely, well done." So it's kind of nice to do it publicly. But it's becoming more and more fashionable, and it's obvious as well because the shops are stocking a much wider range of wools, and they're more readily available. Like 10 years ago you had to go online to buy something decent, but we've got a great shop in Ramsey. We've got loads of other ones around the island selling a great range of products. So it's obviously it's fashionable, it's healthy, and it's great fun to do.
Yeah, and you're outdoor today on a beautiful day, so what better excuse?
And in the sunshine, there's nothing better than sitting, having a picnic and knitting with your friends.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Bernadette.
You're welcome.
Must admit, we do get a varied selection on Countryside, and it must have been quite a spectacle seeing people knitting out in the grounds of the beautiful scenery around the Murdoch Park.
It's something very different, but it's nice to see people getting out in the countryside, or out in the green space that we have, and enjoying it with old traditional hobbies and trades. It's really good.
Yeah. Well, I must admit, I thought you'd have come in today with a knitted England scarf or something, or a
hang
Manx
on.
scarf.
Maybe a Manx one.
Fair enough then.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
One of the most notable buildings in the north of the Isle of Man is the outline of Derby Church. You can see it from many, many different areas off the island. Well, I went along to have a look at an exhibition that's been held there and also to find out a little bit more into its history. Sandra Kerrison was there to tell me more from the Friends of the Derby Church Committee.
The building needs a lot of money spending on it. We probably think it'll be well over £100,000. But what we want to do first of all is put in central heating, oil-fired central heating, because this will not only make it more usable in the winter months, but it'll also dry out the building. And so then we can start doing the renovation work after that.
What about the services? There was rumours that the church was closed completely. Not true?
Well, we still have a monthly service on the third Sunday of the month. This will continue, we think, until we get a lease from the diocese for the church, and then we'll just be allowed to have about 6 services a year for special occasions. It'll become a festival church, which means that we'll have services such as Easter and Remembrance and Civic Service and maybe St Patrick's Day service, because that's the church is St Patrick's. The other months we'll have exhibitions as usual in the summer and other events. So to most people it'll just remain the same. They won't notice any difference, but what we are trying to do at the moment is to show the importance not just of the building as a landmark, as an iconic landmark from air and land and sea, but also because the site is an ancient one, and if you just look around, there are evidence of the Viking past, of the past of maybe 5,000 years ago, in the mound that we have, Cronk na Éiri Lá, which it just shows it's very significant and very ancient site.
Well, you mentioned about the landmark. It is a prominent feature of Derby, but a little bit out of the way, but near the coast. And I suppose when I'm reading all the history about it here, it seemed, I suppose, to be a big part of the agricultural world in its very early days.
Yes, very much so, because there's evidence of farming and growing cereals and keeping animals dating back to the Bronze Age. We know that there's always been farming, and when the farming was doing well, then the parish was doing well, and as soon as farming wasn't doing quite so well and there was increased mechanisation, then the parish started to decline, and this continued right till the 1930s and the coming of RAF Derby.
Now, RAF Derby, of course, the training camp, there's a lot of history involved in that, and still a lot of people whose families were connected with the RAF and Derby during the wartime still find their way here, don't they?
All round the year people will come to visit the church. Many of them do have the connections, the RAF connection. At Remembrance time we often get Polish people coming up to visit the war graves, which are very in a very dramatic setting. The stories behind them are of great tragedy, of course, and also stories of miraculous escapes for people who may have crash-landed. For example, the Sunderland that crash-landed, and the people did manage to escape. But sadly, because it was for training, then there were a lot of accidents.
But after the RAF finished here, the army came in and did some training and stuff for a few years in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s. I mean, when that all stopped, did that see a further decline?
I think so. It's very difficult. The whole shift of the population was different because a lot of the people who came weren't necessarily from Derby. It hasn't quite been the same, and a lot of people don't really spend a lot of time, apart from it being where they live, they don't probably do very much in Derby itself, and unfortunately a lot of the clubs that were in the parish up to a few years ago and organisations have disappeared as well.
We spoke about a big part of the agricultural world, I think 200 years ago when this particular church was built. But I mean, it's interesting to read about the fishing side of things, particularly in Derby.
They said that in the guides of the time, the Brown's Guide, and the only mention that Derby ever had was of the quality of the fish, which were salted more or less as soon as they were caught and were a great delicacy.
And that's when there was cod off the coast.
That's right. Well, I heard that you can still catch 1 or 2 cod off here, I've been told. And up till a few years ago, there were a few cod about.
And now, of course, it's got no port or piers or nothing, so this was just people heading off the beach in the little boats?
That's right. And we always think about peel fishing, but of course, it was the staple of the spuds and herring was the staple in Derby, as the same as it was in the rest of the island, more so probably.
So they can come here, have a look and read of it, and it's particularly interesting to read about the history of this 200-year-old church as well. And this exhibition you've got on runs through to Sunday?
Sunday the 26th, yes, we finished that exhibition. And then on the 2nd of July, we have 2 weeks of a new adventure of the Derby mice, which the Derby mice strike gold. Which should be really, really wonderful.
Sandra Kerrison there telling me a lot more into the deep history of Derby and that fabulous exhibition that's there with its pictures and all the writing about it, over 200 years old, and that history of the RAF and the fishing and the farming days. And of course that event is open daily 10 a.m. till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and that finishes on Sunday the 26th of June. You ever been in it, Kiri?
I've never been in it, no, but I've heard an awful lot about it. It's a beautiful building, isn't it?
Yeah, you won't be able to quite see it from where you are, I'm afraid, will you?
Not quite, but it's been having a bit of trouble with the erosion over the years.
Well, as Sandra was saying there, they think it's not changed that much. But when you think the sea is quite a long way from it yet, I think it's just, obviously they're not built on foundations, are they? So they're just keeping an eye. But, £100,000 to find to sort of get it back to full kilter.
Wow.
But, and a sort of reduced service, if I can use that pun, which is planned for the future of it. But I think it's just a marvellous, certainly is a marvellous church, a big one as well. But there we are. The story continues.
Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
There we are. Knitting, of all things, churches and pigs, but all countryside connected in various ways, which we're trying to do, Kiri. And it's great that some of the activities that people think, indoor, everything's indoor with them sort of things, but a lot of it is connected with outdoor, and they're trying to get people outdoor, and certainly the case with the knitters, aren't they?
Well, that's it. And with it being such an essential way of life, making jumpers and hats and, keep them warm through the winters, it died off, but now it's certainly coming back, and the young people are really into the knitting.
Yeah, they are. The knitted underpants didn't catch on them.
No, I couldn't imagine they'd be too comfortable.
That's all for this week's Countryside, though. We'll be back the same time next week with more. So from me, Simon Clark.
And me, Kiri Kermit.
We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Don't sit in the slow lane. Join the fast lane right now with Shaw's all-new Superfast Plus broadband. Enjoy more bandwidth, amazing speeds and the best value on the island from just £23.95 per month. So don't be left behind. Get a piece of the high-speed action with Superfast Plus broadband from Shaw. For details, visit our stores in Douglas, Ramsey and Port Erin or click shaw.com. Love being Shaw. Terms and conditions apply.